I'm going to close this door.
So I'm going to be on here with my
Yep. Hi. All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Let's wait and see. Oh, I should turn my phone down too. I'm going to go turn my phone down just a second.
Hi.
Wait, this kind of gives everyone a chance to get on here anyways.
Hey, Talia.
Yeah, she's on. Hi. Okay, good. So now we know everyone can hear us. Do you want to scoot up a little bit so you can be more on the camera? Okay, we'll try to get us both on. There we go. Hello. We've got 5 so far. So sorry, this is a weird time, but this is my friend, Nicole Shepherd. And we met, like 3 months ago?
Yeah.
Like when she lives pretty far from us, 4.5 hours, but she her and her family try to come to our church about once a month. So we've gotten to know her through that, gone soul winning with her, spent the whole day here on Sundays with her. So I wanted to have her on. And since they have a long drive back, they were here all day yesterday. Since they have a long drive back today, we had to do it earlier. So hopefully this is okay. Hopefully you put your kids down for a nap or whatever, and you'll be able to listen. So, I forgot to turn that light on too. It's bad lighting in here. It was really, really crazy. I'm late. Okay, it's 12:20, but it's been a horrible morning. And I was on my way over here, not for Nicole, but for me. I was on my way over here, and I got a text from Abby, who was watching the 3 younger girls, and she said that something had just happened to Lana. So, I couldn't really understand her very well because she was breaking up. So I just turned around, went back home, and Lana had pulled a chair down on top of her head. It has like a little hole in her head now. It's like a little puncture. So it bled quite a bit. So I think I assessed it. It looked okay. So I put some ice on it and left again and come back. So that's why we're late. Oh, everything was going wrong for Abby. I felt so bad for her. Lana was screaming. It woke up Kelly, who was taking a nap. The cat was having issues, so she had to throw the cat out and then deal with that. It was a mess. But we're here now. So
hopefully it settled down there for her.
Yes, hopefully it did. It was calm when I left the first time, and it was calm when I left the second time. So hopefully it all settled back. So I'm going to turn that light on just a second. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So we're everything is on spur of the moment.
We're winging it.
Yeah, we're winging it. I don't have an outline. So you'll just have to bear with us as we wing it. But there we go. A little bit extra light. But I wanted to have Nicole on today. I wanted her to give her testimony, first of all, and then we're going to kind of get into some herbal remedies and things. She has been studying herbs for how long have you been studying herbs?
I guess studying hard for the last 7 years.
Okay.
But I've been into it since I was a teenager.
Okay.
So I had a little foundation, but when I get into my testimony, mostly it was from a witchcraft foundation. Mm-hmm. And then now it's turned into actual what the herbs are and just the plants and
right, exactly.
that kind of stuff. So
okay, so let's get into it. So let's go ahead. I want you to give your testimony. You can take as long as you want. One thing else, I did not tell her anything about this. I just said yesterday, you want to come on? And she's like, okay. And so I haven't prepared her for this. I haven't prepped her for this. So this is weird for her. I know.
We don't even have an outline.
No, we have no outline. We're just winging it. So if you want, usually when I talk to them, I try to look into the camera.
Okay.
Because then it looks like you're looking at them. So right. I'm giving her instructions as we're doing this. So just go ahead, take your time. Tell us how you got saved, a little bit of your background, whatever you want to tell us.
Okay. So, well, honestly, the witchcraft thing started when I was 12, 13. And then my boyfriend's mom at the time was heavy. She's Native and Mexican. And so she was heavy into witchcraft. And so she kind of taught me the basics and really got that foundation going. And I just took it and ran with it. Luckily, I never joined any weird covens or anything. So I'm very thankful for that. I did go to one meeting and I swear God just was no. The second I walked through the door, it was just this heavy, heavy feeling. And I just wanted to leave as soon as I got there. And But all that was like my whole teenage years was just dabbling with that. My best friend did it with me, and we were just kind of like solo practitioners. I really didn't do too much. I didn't get too crazy in depth with spells or anything.
Do you think that is pushed in, you went to public school?
Yes.
Do you think it's pushed? Do you think the whole witchcraft thing is pushed?
Well, I mean, think of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that got really big when I was like a teenager too. And so it just feeds that drive of, you know, it's very seductive.
Thing. I've never seen Harry Potter. And that is actually a movie that a lot of Christians watch.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, from your point of view, it is witchcraft.
Oh, 100%. 100% witchcraft. And it's worse because it gives that childhood like seductive aspect of it where, you know, you want to do all the spells and you want to do all that cool stuff. And, you know, but that's not what it is at all. And I remember when I met my husband now, he's been a Christian since he was a child. And he used to tell me when we met that, you know, you're worshiping Satan either way. And I got so mad and I was like, no, I'm not. I'm a white witch. You know, I'm not a dark witch and whatever else. And that was a hard pill to swallow. Eventually I understood that concept once I got saved, but yeah. So then I met my husband, and he tried to lead me to Christ. Like he would answer my questions. We would read the Bible and stuff together. I was searching because actually my witchcraft sent me on this search for, if you get into it, there's all different gods and goddesses. And so I wanted to know, well, what is the real God? What is the real goddess of like especially the female deities? Like I wanted to know which is the real goddess of like love or, you know, that kind of stuff. And, you know, is it Diana? Is it the Greek one? Is it the, you know, pagan Irish one? Is it the Egyptian one? There's so many different gods and goddesses. And I went searching and it was just, there was nothing. There was no truth. There was no foundation. There was nothing you could like grasp onto and be like, oh, that sounds like the truth. You know, it was, what do you want it to be? Who do you want it to be? And that's basically that whole religion is, well, you know, it's all about what you want and you create your own gods and you create your own goddesses, you know.
I know nothing about witchcraft, so.
And that's, you know, when you go searching into the gods and goddesses, it's really like you can pick and choose whatever you want, you know, and, you know, the basis is like worshiping the earth and things like that and the creation. So when you're doing the spells, you would be using herbs or stones, or you can make stuff out of nature.
Okay.
And just like you would use that energy. And yeah, so when I went on that search for the true gods and goddesses, I found nothing and I was left empty. And then I started asking, because I always believed in a higher power. And I started asking, and I know I was talking to God at the time. Like, I just didn't know what God.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I just want to know the truth. And I had a chip on my shoulder from being raised Catholic. So I really didn't like Jesus. I remember my first confession. This is funny. My first confession, you have to go up to a priest and you have to, you know, confess a sin or whatever else. And I looked at him and I was like, I don't believe in Jesus. And he was just kind of taken back. And he explained to me how Jesus is like a car. Mind you, I'm like a 7-year-old girl. And he's like telling me how Jesus is like a car and your life won't go forward without him. Or, you know, it was this weird analogy, especially for a 7-year-old girl. And I'm just like, whatever. And I went and sat back down. And, you know, that was kind of my spirit. I was very rebellious from the beginning. And so I remember sitting after that and being like, I want to know the truth, even if it's Jesus. And I remember saying that. And like, to this day, I laugh about it so hard. Because it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so I started questioning, and mind you, this whole time I'm, you know, using drugs and alcohol and all that stuff. And so I was really just in a dark place. And I remember reaching out and just being like, I need help. And I know God helped me through getting over pills. And then I switched pills to alcohol. And then and this is about the time when I met my husband, when I was like really down and out. And he was the only Christian I knew. So I would ask him questions all the time. I would be like, you know, well, what about this? Or, you know, what about, you know, waiting until you're married and things like that. And just all these crazy questions. And he'd answer them the best he could, but he was never taught either how to give the gospel.
Okay.
And so he'd answer them the best he could. We'd read passages out of the Bible. And then I ended up getting pregnant. And then he said, well, we're getting married.
Mm.
And I was like, all right. Like, I was just kind of like, all right, that's cool. But he's like, I don't want to get married unless you believe in Jesus. And at that time, I was just kind of like, I was still questioning. I had watched all the Kent Homans.
Okay.
So that really like opened my mind to the logical aspect of that. It blew my mind because I believed in evolution just as because that's what you're taught. I never questioned it.
Right.
And so that was a whole nother world for me when that opened up. And so then I was like, I think I do believe, and he's like, well, you need to be saved and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, I believe in Jesus, but I didn't have a solid foundation. I know I wasn't saved at that point. So we get married. We have our son, Isaac, and Isaac was about 3 months old. And I remember sitting there, and it's a funny story. So I'm sitting there and I'm like changing Isaac's diaper, and Sean's on the couch. We're just watching TV. And I'm thinking about Jesus and all this stuff. And, when you're with a guy and you just kind of get into whatever they're into. And so I'm sitting there thinking in my head, and I'm like, do I believe in Jesus? Like for me or for Sean? Like, is this really real?
Right.
And I was like, and I'm like, no, I believe in Jesus. Like for me, like, I really believe that that's what happened and that's our history. And, God just came on me with such a heavy spirit. It's so hard to explain. I don't want to sound weird, like those, people that are all like touchy feely about the spirit stuff.
People, yeah.
But it was such a heavy, and the exact words were confess with your mouth. And it was such a weird thing to come into my head, as that's not the type of language I would talk to myself with.
Right.
And it's, he said, confess with your mouth. And I'm like fighting with him. And I'm like, well, why would I say it? We're not conversating. We're not even talking. We're watching TV. And he's like, say it out loud, confess with me. So I did. And I just blurted out of the blue. I'm like, I believe in Jesus. And Sean's like, okay, like, good for you. I thought we already covered this, but I know that was the moment that I got saved. And so that was a whole world changer, because then I got the Holy Spirit, and then I actually started to understand everything that he was trying to tell me. And so that's another huge, long story.
So how many years ago was this?
Well, Isaac's 7, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then after that, did you guys get into church? I mean, how did you start growing as a Christian?
Jehovah's Witnesses came to our door.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. We didn't know that you shouldn't let them in. And so we did let them in, and we were conversating, and, Sean, he had a solid foundation of the basics, but like to expound on anything was like, we couldn't do it. And so we were talking, and they would ask us all these questions and try to show us all those weird doctrines. And we're like, that's not true. That's not what the Bible says. But we didn't know how to explain or articulate what we were doing. So my brother-in-law, his older brother, found After the Tribulation.
Okay.
And so we watched that. That opened up a whole world. And I think we started watching Anderson's sermons, and then the Revelation series. We started going through that together, and that really grew us like immensely going through that. We did get into a church. I got baptized. He's a sweet pastor, old IFB for sure, but just real soft, not hard on anything, no doctrine, nothing else. Super nice. We still actually go there once in a blue moon when we feel like going back, but yeah, it was really just, and then watching preaching, just hours and hours of me sitting home with the kids, just watching preaching, but
soaking it all up.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I hear people all the time that they do get saved either by watching the videos, or after they get saved, they just watch a ton and they really grow.
Yes.
They grow so much.
And when you want to know, like, I've always been a person that I want to know everything. Why? And so, and like I said, I was raised Catholic, so I was really jaded. And so I knew all the stuff I grew up learning wasn't true. And so I wanted to know what was the truth on it. And so, yeah, I watched so many hours and read my Bible. We went through the whole Bible together, I think, that year, which helped us grow so much. I cannot like say enough, like, as couples starting out, like how much you should like do that together.
Read the Bible together. Yeah, that's awesome. Someone asked you, would you say crystal healing and numerology is related to witchcraft?
Yes.
I know people that were into both.
Yes. Yeah. Because most people who believe in like the crystals and things like that, they're thinking that energy and all that stuff is coming from the crystal. It all goes back to earth worship and worshiping the creation over the creator. And so you got to be real careful with all that. And numerology, that has to do with like the astrology part, if I'm correct. I didn't get into that too much.
Numerology. I know some Baptist people that use numerology.
I think that has to do with like the whole stars and everything, doesn't it? I don't know.
Correct. I don't know anything about all this.
I didn't get too much into that. I was more on the herb side. That was where, you know, my passion lied. The herbs, the crystals, I did use lots of crystals and things like that. And so I got saved and I actually threw all my witchcraft stuff out. And I was like, I'm not touching it, got rid of everything I had.
So you knew when you got saved that the witchcraft stuff was instantly bad.
Yeah, there was no question. Yeah. There was no question. I knew. And so I got rid of all of it. And, but herbs was always a fascination, even beyond a religious aspect. Yeah. It was like just plant healing was something that intrigued me. And so when I was reading the Bible and going through, we ran into, I believe it's Exodus, like 20:35. I don't know if you can look it up. Yeah. So it's when they're going through, and they're doing the tabernacle and the priests have to make, oils and incense and perfumes. And when
that's not it. Exodus 20:35.
Maybe. Oh, no.
Nope.
Well, if you can Google like art of the apothecary, my bad.
That's right. This is gonna go off the window, but you can keep talking.
So it talks in there about putting all these different either herbs together, oils together, frankincense, cinnamon, myrrh, and he says this is all done after the art of apothecary, and so that really. Oh, yeah. 30:25.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it fixed around.
So, so then I was like, my heart just like blew up. I was like, Lord, this is like, and it all kind of made sense to me. And I was like, you made these herbs, you made these plants. And then even in the beginning in Genesis, when he talks about, I've given you all the herbs, for you to eat, there'll be meat for you. And then even like in the millennial reign, we're going to have the tree and the leaves will be for medicine. And like, there's so much stuff in there talking about plants for healing and things like that.
And here it is. And thou shalt make it an oil of holy ointment, an ointment compound after the art of apothecary. It shall be an holy anointing oil. And then in verse 35, and thou shalt make it a perfume, a confection after the art of the apothecary, tempered together, pure and holy.
Yeah.
So.
So
they talk about the art of apothecary in the Bible. I know I was telling her beforehand, my husband is very leery. He's come a long ways, but he is always been a little leery of like natural things or, herbal things. I told her I finally am getting him now to go to the chiropractor. And even with chiropractors when we were first married, he's like, oh, it's hocus pocus, whatever. And so he's always been a little leery of it. But so I wanted her to kind of differentiate, I could speak, between, knowing the line of where it's dabbling into witchcraft, whereas you are, because I believe God gave us the herb and, tree and all this stuff. He gave it to man to use. And I told my husband, I said, why wouldn't God give us plants to help heal different ailments and different herbs and things like that? So can you kind of talk about just knowing where that line is?
Yeah, I think the clearest line is when somebody thinks that it's somebody thinks it's like just the plant or the energy coming from the earth or, it's really a clear line when you're worshiping the creation over the creator. Yeah. Like, when that's good. Know that God, gave us all these things and it's God's wisdom and God's glory, excuse me, and knowing, what to use and that kind of stuff. And there's so much old wisdom, and we were talking too about, so when you try to find herbal remedies and when you try to get into this type of natural stuff, it's everywhere's witchcraft.
Mhm.
It's throughout everything. And so it's really hard. There is a pretty solid group of people that I can find that, you know, are just based on the actual healing aspect of it, the
Right.
medicinal aspect of
Mhm.
it. You know, they don't take any religion into it. They don't take anything. They're just like, you know, the actual compounds of the herbs or the plants. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I have a few books like that I try to keep on hand. Most of them will use apothecary,
Mhm.
like, in there, like I have one apothecary book, and that's really strictly like medicinal
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So
That's a good point, though, about, you know, it's crossing the line when you're worshiping the creation over the creator.
mhm.
I like that. That's a good thing to keep in mind. So, and you know, as long as to realize that God is the one that brings true healing, you know, he's giving
Yes.
us these tools to work with.
Mhm.
But, and also I wanted to touch on this too, because I know a lot of people can take this to the other extreme where they're all like herbs,
Yes.
but they will not go seek medical attention
Oh my
if
goodness.
if
Yeah.
they need it. So can you kind of touch on, you know, how do you know when it's time to seek medical attention? Because I'm kind of more of like the middle of the road gal. I dabble into natural things, but I also will use medical, you know, means if necessary. I like to give birth in a hospital. I like to have, but I like to have a midwife that does things natural. So I'm kind of like middle of the road.
Yeah,
when it
that's
comes
a
to
really
this,
good
so.
compromise too, because then you're not, you know, you have that natural aspect, but you're
Mhm.
also in the place you can be in case something happens.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think the way I approach it is first natural. If
Mhm.
you're not having any success,
Mhm.
go, you know, farther where you think you need to go.
Right.
And if it's like something really severe, like, you know, fevers are really important. And this is kind of a touchy subject.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot more comfortable with higher grade fevers.
Mhm.
It's hard.
It is hard.
It's hard.
Mine run high fevers. Kelly, she's twice since she's been born. It's been 104. And
I
I'm always
know.
like, ooh.
Yes. And there's like pretty strong medical evidence saying, you know, over 105, more so 107, that's where you start to get that
Okay.
brain damage.
Yeah.
It's really hard to let it get that high.
Yeah.
But so, you know, there's a certain point where, you know, when it would start creeping up over 104, you're hitting 105, 106,
Yeah.
you're not seeing any good,
Yeah.
you know, you're giving them warm baths and it's not coming down.
Right.
Go get medical attention.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a common sense line where it's like,
Right.
okay, what I'm doing isn't doing anything.
Mhm.
I need to get more advice, you know, somebody who knows more and stuff like that. And then there's also, you know, when you go in there, don't just take everything they say.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I do that.
I mean, that's the other extreme where it's like, okay, well, they must know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Please don't assume that.
Sometimes I'll let my doctor talk.
That's good.
I'll just nod.
That's
but
the
then
best
I go
thing to do.
home and I'm like, nope, not doing that.
Yeah.
You know, he's talking about giving her rice cereal when she's 4 months old or whatever.
Yes.
I'm like, no, not doing that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. My mother-in-law actually used to come with me to some appointments and she taught me that.
Mhm.
Because like can be kind of argumentative. Like, so I try to be like respectful and listen, but most of the time I'll be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Where she was
Don't
just
tell
like,
him no, just be like, okay.
That's exactly what you do. And that's what she taught me because he wanted me to get some crazy test done to Isaac. And she's just like, she like grabbed my hand and was like, okay. And then as soon as he walked out, he's like, she's like, let's just leave. And I was like, okay. And I found that to be a very good approach.
Yeah, it is. It is a good approach when you're non-combative.
Yes.
You know, I know because doctors a lot of times they look at you like you're just one of these moms that's just Googling things. You don't know.
Your Google degree.
Yes, your Google degree. So I know that I know different things when it comes to my children and things about fevers and natural things that I can do to, like you said, I do a lot of the tepid baths. I do, have you ever done like wet wool socks on their feet?
I know
with
that
other
works
socks?
so good. Yes. I've never actually had to do that. You said your kids get higher
They
fevers,
do,
so
yeah,
that
high
I would
fevers.
do that if it got that high. But
Yeah.
most of the time mine stay around 102, 103.
Oh no,
so.
I would love the 102 fever.
Yeah.
It's 104 with my last two, but then you know what? I feel like it burns it off quicker.
It does.
Because it's real high and I just watch it real close and then it does. And I will do the baby Advil or the baby Tylenol if it gets over 104.
Yes.
That's just
And
what I'm comfortable with.
my midwife told me that, and I will do that. I actually haven't had to for a while. Isaac was my last with teething that it got so high I had to give Tylenol and stuff. So
yeah,
I will definitely pull out Tylenol or something when you absolutely have to.
Yes.
I mean, so.
Yeah, someone said, and I think I agree with this, Miss Lady Winter said, I think the difference in using herbs and natural remedies to heal your body, the difference of when it crosses the line, the difference is when you go to heal your body versus using it to heal your soul.
Yeah, and it gives you, it's fulfilling. It's like fulfilling your flesh almost. Like you feel like you're doing something, and it's not you. It's, it's God healing you, giving that wisdom. And because he made all this stuff, we don't know what we're doing with plants. People don't even know how certain, components even work to heal the body. I mean, if you talk to most doctors, they don't even understand how Tylenol works. They just know it does work.
Right.
Same thing with herbs. Most people don't understand how it works, just that it does work that way. And I mean, that's God's wisdom. That's beyond something I'm even going to try to comprehend.
Yeah, my mom is a living testimony that herbal things do work because she got hepatitis C in the 70s through drug use and things. She was a hippie. So she got that, and all she has been doing for it is milk thistle. And that is one of the best things for your liver. So if you have liver have liver problems, use milk thistle. It's the she always called it silly marine. It's SILYMARN, I believe, is in the milk thistle. And that's what it actually heals your liver. So she's been doing it for years, and she is actually, it's so funny because she is actually cured technically, but not technically, because the medical doctors told her, well, we can't tell you have it because it's not showing up in your blood, but we can't tell you that it's gone because you've never been treated medically.
Oh my God.
So because
protocol.
Yeah, because she's never been treated medically, they can't say that it's technically gone, but it's gone just from using vitamins and herbs, lots of herbs. I know there's lots of different herbs that help your liver. So now for me, that did not work. It's different for every person too. It did not take away my hepatitis C because I actually got it from her at birth. But I actually did go the medical route for that. And they have a great new, I don't know, like, what is it, 6-week program? It's like 1 pill a day or something. And within a week, my liver, it was undetected in my blood. So in that case, I did go the medical route where I had been trying the natural for years and years and years, but it's different for everyone. So, I mean, for her, it worked. I know people are asking about different remedies, so we can get into your remedies now.
Okay.
But Amanda Gander asked about eczema. Do you have anything that would help eczema?
Yeah, eczema is a tricky thing too. I would start with just like a basic, I'll give a basic healing salve. All my remedies are going to be super simple, basic stuff.
Stuff that I can do.
Yeah. So I would start there. But honestly, every one of my kids breaks out in a really bad rash when they're like a baby. Jubilee, my twin, she was the worst. It was head to toe. Like anybody I know who would have brought their kid in. Like I was just she wasn't running fever. She wasn't, she wasn't uncomfortable. She wasn't crying. She just had a horrible rash from head to toe.
Tell me about your kids. I never asked about your kids. How many kids? Tell them how many kids you have, what their ages are.
Okay. So we have, me and my husband have 5 kids together. Isaac, who's 7, Evelyn, who's 5, Marcus, who's 3. And then we have 18-month-old twins, Jubilee and Thaddeus. And so I also have an older daughter from when I was a teenager. Her name's Angelicia. Please, ladies, pray for her. She's 16 now, going on 17 in a month, and she can definitely use the prayer.
So what was her name again?
Angelicia.
That's pretty. Angelicia. Do you have contact with her?
I do. Right now, she's not really talking to me too much. So
just remember that. Remember to pray for her.
Yeah, please, please, please. But yeah, so Jubilee broke out in this horrible rash, head to toe. And one of the best things, and an old doctor told my mother-in-law this, apple cider vinegar baths. Seems like it would stink, but you really only do like a cup of apple cider vinegar in a bath. And then I would alternate that. So one day they would get an apple cider vinegar bath, get them out, coconut oil them head to toe, salve, some sort of natural lotion, whatever you feel like using. And then the next day I would do an oatmeal bath.
Yes. My best friend does that. Her daughter has eczema really bad. and she can stay on top of it as long as she does the oatmeal. But I didn't know about the apple cider.
I
told her
switch
about
it.
that.
I would alternate. I would do the apple cider vinegar bath one day, then I would do the oatmeal the next day. So you're not getting like too dried out from that apple cider vinegar. And then I would alternate that, and that really helped clear it up really fast.
So you did get hers cleared then?
Yes, it did. It took a while, probably like at least 2 to 3 weeks. And then
that's not bad though.
Yeah, and Evelyn got something really weird too, where she would get like these oval rashes all over her body too, and that was the same process of like 2 weeks. No, my sister-in-law found something. It started with like a rose, like I don't want to say rosacea. It wasn't rosacea, but it was like something with rose in it, and it was the closest thing I could find that it probably was. And if you bring them in for rashes, they're just going to give you steroid cream.
Yeah.
So
steroid cream.
I mean, if it's super extreme and your child's in pain, maybe that's an avenue you would want to take. But for me, they weren't showing any discomfort. So I was just going to tough it out, and we kept doing that. And so I would start, with simple things: apple cider vinegar, oatmeal, healing salve, lotion, keep them lathered up all the time. Because, like you're talking about, the biggest thing is allowing your body to heal itself. I think that's the biggest thing in natural medicine is finding what works for you and for your body to heal it. So
what's your basic salve recipe?
Okay.
So I need to try to write these down. I'm like going to steal her notes from her after
Yeah,
2
you
weeks.
can, because I don't need them. So, okay. So this one I make, and anybody who does herbal remedies knows, I mean, that's kind of the fun part of it. You can play with anything, I mean, you just can kind of do whatever. Sometimes I just throw everything I have in my cupboard in there, but there's some basics. And so this is one that I made recently, and it's just super basic. So you make infused oil. And so what you want to do is you want to grab a good olive oil. Olive oil has its own medicinal properties. So I typically use that if I'm going to try to do a healing thing.
Okay. So that over coconut oil?
Yep. But it's heavy. So it's really thick. It doesn't soak in the best. So if you want to do a lotion, sometimes you might want to do a grapeseed oil or almond or apricot, something like that. So you take the oil, you put it on a low heat, the Instant Pot. I just figured this out, you guys. I was so excited. You can set it to the yogurt setting.
Yeah.
And so I put my oil in a quart jar, put some water in the bottom, set it on the yogurt setting, and threw my herbs in there and let it sit for like 24 hours.
I love that.
I was so excited
with the Instant Pot.
Yeah, I
totally
thought
doing this.
Yeah, I told my husband, I was like, I'm so excited I figured this out, because I used to have to put it on my electric stove on a double boiler. It gets so hot. You really don't want it to go over 110 degrees.
Okay.
That sweet spot is somewhere between 90 and 100 degrees. You want it to sit for a while, at least a good few hours. Like I said, I let mine go overnight since it was in the Instant Pot.
Cool.
And let it infuse, and then drain out your herbs, and then you have a really good healing oil, and which can be the base to everything. And a salve is so simple. You just do 3 parts oil to 1 part beeswax.
Okay.
So if you're going to make a cup of salve, I hope I have those parts right, you guys. If you're going to make a cup of salve,
when you get home and let us know.
yeah, you would do like you do 1 cup oil and a 1/4 cup beeswax.
Okay.
So maybe I'm off by my parts. I kind of wing everything in life. So, but I know the basics. Yeah. So I know you need a cup of oil and a 1/4 cup of beeswax. So you would do that, and then that's it. You melt the wax in there, and then you put it in the fridge or put it in a little container and let it sit. I like to add vitamin E to mine, or essential oils like tea tree, lavender, things like that. Play with it. That's what I do. But yeah, so I infused the oil with calendula, yarrow, and St. John's wort. Those are the 3 herbs that I used.
Okay, so those are dried herbs?
Yes, you can buy them online, anywhere.
Do you get your stuff from like Amazon? What about the beeswax? Where do you get that at?
Yep, I pretty much try to find it on Amazon. I mean, you can find some good sources on there. Mountain Rose Herbs is one of my favorites.
Yep, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're one of my favorites. They're always good source, organic. Like, you can really count on their sourcing. They can be a little bit pricier, so it depends on, what your priorities are.
Do you use all organic in your stuff?
I do.
You do?
I do. I figure if I want to be sticking it on my skin and I'm going to go through all that trouble, you don't want those extra chemicals messing, especially if you have eczema or if you have some sort of weird rash or something. You don't want those pesticides and things that are going to be messing with that too.
Okay, so is this basic salve, the basic killing salve, is this what you would lotion them up with after the bath, or is this more for like wounds or bruises or?
Yeah, so you can use this on anything. I basically replace my antibiotic cream with this because, you know, the thing about antibiotic cream, you know, the overuse of antibiotics and creating that resistance, it can also cause secondary infections. So let's say you have a cut, you throw antibiotic cream on it. It's also killing the good bacteria on your skin, which, you know, you have good bacteria in your gut, you have good bacteria in your skin. When you're killing all the bacteria, then you're leaving that wound open for an actual infection.
Okay. Does this include bacitracin?
Yeah.
You know? Is that I know that's a type of ointment.
Yeah. Like I think misotracin or something like that is like one of the most common ones. But yeah, I would say bacitracin probably would fall right into
I know the bacitracin or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm probably saying that wrong. I think that is one that they have gone to now in the hospitals, and I don't know if that's because we are becoming resistant to the other one that they were using. So
yeah, and you know what's funny about that is they had so many good studies done with that MRSA. That garlic was actually one of the few things that was actually killing that bacteria. But, you know, are they going to run around spraying garlic everywhere? Probably not.
No, absolutely not.
Those 3 herbs, I see that you're asking the 3 herbs. So I don't know if you're familiar with parts, but like if you were to break it into parts, like I did 1 part calendula, half a part yarrow, and half a part St. John's wort. So I really want that calendula to take, you know, the star of the show. That's your skin healer.
I have never even used calendula.
It's really pretty, actually. I grew it this year for the first time. It did really well. My friend gave me a plant.
Do you grow herbs at your house?
Yeah.
This is something that anyone can probably do.
It is. And calendula is really easy to take care of, too. And just blossoms and flowers like all year long. So
then do you pick it when it's got the flowers on it?
Yep. You use just the flower parts really is what I use. I just pick the flowers on that. I did happen to buy a giant bag of dried calendula, so I just use that too. But so it's calendula, yarrow, and St. John's wort, you know, and then feel free to add vitamin E or, you know, your stuff like that. And
I'm going to steal these from her after she leaves. So.
Yep. And then, so cold and flu season is coming up. And so they call it the old gypsy remedy. Don't let that title freak you out, guys. It's just a tried and true recipe that's been around for like literally thousands of years. And so it works really good. It is equal parts yarrow, elderflower, and berry, and mint. And so mint is a huge family. There's all different kinds of mint. I'm particularly using catnip for my mint in this.
I didn't even know catnip was a mint.
It is a mint. You know what's cool about the mint family is they have a square stem. So if you ever like grab a mint plant, it will have a square stem.
Oh, that's cool.
So you'll know if it's in the mint family then. But I'm using catnip. Catnip is actually really good for babies, really great for fevers, all kinds of stuff. Tastes terrible. So if you do make a tea with it, be sure to throw some chamomile or something else in there because your kid's going to look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, that's gross.
And then what I'm also doing, so you can like mix this all together, have a big bag of this dried. You can do tea as soon as you start feeling a cold or flu coming on. But I'm also going to tincture it. Now, tincturing is where you would sit it in an alcohol or a glycerin base, and it's going to extract all those properties from the herbs. And so I do use an alcohol base. It's just easier for me to get a hold of that and whatever else. I know some people aren't comfortable with having alcohol in their house.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
That's something I wouldn't do.
So then, you know, you do a glycerin base and you can just
I have done a tincture before. I'm trying to remember.
I think you can do vinegar too. I think you could do a vinegar.
I did it in vinegar.
Yeah. You can do a vinegar base.
Yeah. I was trying to remember what I had done it in. Yes, I did a tincture before and I did it in vinegar.
Yep. Yeah. So you could do that. So you could tincture it in whatever medium you want to use. And then just do a few drops of that as a fever reducer.
Oh, I'm going to remember this.
Yeah. For a child. So instead of, you know, maybe you could try that before the Tylenol and see how that works.
Yeah.
But then also along the cold and flu era, just do an elderberry syrup. Super simple, and kids love syrups. So, you know, you try to get some kids to drink tea and they're going to be like, what are you doing? I still cannot get my kids to really like drink a good cup of tea.
Mine wouldn't either.
I have to bribe them. I have to be like, drink your cup of tea and I'll give you, you know, a treat or something.
Yeah. Use a cookie.
Yeah. But
organic cookie.
Right. No, I mean, my husband will have some, you know, Aldi cookies sitting around, so I'll have to bribe him with. So you just use elderberries. So I do a quart of water. I bring it to a boil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do 1 cup of dried elderberries or 2 cups of fresh.
Okay.
Stick it in that quart of water, bring it to a boil, and then turn it down and let it simmer.
Mm-hmm.
You want to let it simmer for about half hour, 45 minutes. You can cover it, let it simmer. If you're in a rush, you can take the cover off. But covering it does help keep some of those properties from escaping out that way.
Right.
So then you want to let it simmer down to about half. So it reduces by about half. Then you strain it out, and while it's hot, you want to add up to about half a part honey. So you'll be left with about 2 cups of that really strong infusion of the elderberry. And then you put up to a cup of honey in there. I go a little less. I don't like it too sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then that'll actually keep all winter. But
okay.
I probably won't, because you can give that to them daily as an immune booster.
You got my disease. Talk disease.
Yes, an immune booster during
Mm-hmm.
the cold and flu season. So you can give it to them every day. Especially, I know most of our kids don't go to public school, but if your kids do happen to go to public school, that'd be something I'd really suggest trying to do. So you're trying to, ward that off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so, and again.
Now with the honey, see, I have a 9-month-old.
Yes.
And you always hear, don't give it to them because of the botulism, or is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Botulism.
But it's also, I heard it can create allergies.
Oh,
because, especially raw honey, it's going to have all those different properties that the honey has from the bees and stuff like that. So I know it can. So in that case, you could use a different sort of syrup. I know they suggest like a rice syrup. Or something like that. I always had a hard time finding it. I never bought it. You could buy it online, I'm sure, really easy.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it in the stores.
But most of the time, I do have a couple baby remedies here. Most of the time for my babies, when they're that little, just a strong infusion will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And that you just give like half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. You can do it in a little dropper, so they don't even have a say about it. You just stick it in there.
That's like this one, the remedy,
Yep.
the gypsy remedy.
Yeah. I would just do a little, half a teaspoon of that, give it to them you can go every half hour to an hour, depending on how bad it is. But yeah, and again, with that syrup, that elderberry syrup, feel free, throw in licorice is a super good antiviral. So you can throw licorice in there or ginger and, a little cinnamon bark too, stuff like that would be really good to throw in there if you're feeling like you want to play with it some more. But, even just a basic, just elderberry syrup will still do really good. And then, okay, so we're talking about babies. So for babies, when they start eating too, and their intestine is getting, they just get so gassy and uncomfortable when they start eating. It's just terrible. So what I always try to do is like a chamomile tea and add some mint.
I need to do that. Jujana told me to do that.
It works wonders.
Like really high maintenance and kind of fussy. And she said even to calm her down. She said give that to her to calm her down.
And catnip is actually really good. So if you try, like you're doing a chamomile tea, just throw like a tiny pinch of catnip in there. And it really, it works as a relaxer. So like it really helps our muscles relax, helps them just relax. With that chamomile too, it's really good. And it covers up that terrible taste. So yeah, I do a chamomile tea. I throw in mint in there sometimes, but so gripe water. I want to do a quick little recipe.
Yeah.
So that would be, so you bring like 2 cups of good water too. You guys don't use like tap water or anything like that. Make sure it's, not city water.
Like not fluoride.
Yeah. Not filled with fluoride and all sorts of other fun, wonderful things.
Yeah. I'm unwell. So
yeah,
it doesn't really.
That's nice. Yeah. I love having well. And so I do chamomile tea in there. If I do 2 cups, I'll do like 2 bags of chamomile tea. Like a teaspoon of fennel seed. You can crush it up if you want to before. If I'm in a hurry, I just chuck it in. 2 slices of ginger root and a teaspoon of cardamom seed.
Okay.
And
that
so
sounds just like the stuff in gripe water.
It is. Yeah. It's just like a homemade gripe water. So just throw that in, let that bubble for, simmer for like 10, 15 minutes, take it off the heat and let it steep for like another 30.
Okay.
And then, let it cool down. You can keep that in your fridge and just give it to them by the teaspoon and stuff. And that'll really help their digestion.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So a couple other favorites. I don't know how we're doing on time.
Oh, we're doing okay.
Okay. So this is my go-to hand sanitizer when we're out and about. So I make a homemade hand sanitizer. You just grab like a little spray bottle. I have this one I can show you. So like mine looks like this, just a little stainless steel bottle. So you fill it up like 2/3 of the way full with distilled water, and then 1/3 witch hazel.
Mm-hmm.
It just, even the cheap stuff at the store, you know, a little plastic bottle by the hydrogen peroxide, just even the cheap stuff, you're just using it for hand sanitizer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Thieves essential oil. Super quick. I can whip it up right as we're walking out the door. Just like 10 to 15 drops of the Thieves essential oil.
Yeah.
And that's a really good hand sanitizer.
Yeah, a lot of people swear by that.
Mm-hmm.
I like the smell of Thieves. I love it. It smells like Thanksgiving.
Yes. And I actually made a 4 Thieves vinegar last year, and I still have some left over this year that I use for cleaning and stuff like that all around the house. I know you can take it, but it just tastes terrible.
Yeah.
Only if I'm really sick will I really, you know, buckle down. I made a fire cider too, and that's kind of right along the same line, except like lots of garlic and onion, and that's really hard to take too.
Probably smell like garlic for a week. After
and you should take it before you get sick, and I never do. I always get sick and then I start taking it.
Yeah, that's what I would do too.
Oh, and then so bug bite stick. This is one of my favorites with kids. Super easy too. So you would infuse an oil just like we did before for the salve, but with plantain. And so plantain grows all over your yard. If you're feeling ambitious, go pick it, dry it.
It does? What does it look like?
I want
to know what it looks like.
It's actually really easy to identify. It's like an oval leaf like this big.
Okay.
And then it's just going to have like 4 lines going down it. And it grows just like dandelion, like everywhere.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so plantain is such a good, it pulls things out, and is so good that people have actually used poultices of it where you like chew it up and put it on to pull out splinters. It's actually helps. Yeah, and so what that does is pulls out all the bug venom and stuff. So you do equal parts plantain oil and yarrow tincture, and I swear by it. My kids, my boys in particular, swell up. They've gotten like golf ball size.
Oh yeah, Jason does too.
Yeah, like golf ball size, you know, swells from a mosquito bite. And so I put that on there and it brings it down by half, like right away. So that is like, I have to have that for my kids for sure. On the bug thing, if you guys want to know, I mean, a quick bug repellent, I would do tea tree is a really good tried and true. Lavender, citronella. I normally mix that with distilled water and yarrow tincture instead of witch hazel because bugs for some reason hate yarrow tincture. And then geranium essential oil.
Geranium smells so good.
Yeah.
I love geranium.
If you like that, I actually particularly don't like geranium.
Oh, I love it. It smells so good.
But then you'll love this. This is my last like absolute favorite one. This was probably one of my first beauty ones that I made.
For your face.
Yes. So this was, I started getting crow's feet. And I
have crow's feet.
Yeah, you guys can't see, but I have a giant wrinkle like across my forehead that it was.
No, I can't see it. I need to use this stuff.
Thanks to this.
I'm getting a little
wrinkles in my eyes. It was getting really big, and my crow's feet was getting really big.
And that actually helped it?
Oh,
just with the moisture?
So much. So this was, I forget who I got this from. This was some lady offline that I found it. So it's equal parts evening primrose oil and vitamin E oil.
Okay. And
now I, again, throw whatever I have in my cupboard in it. I added geranium essential oil because that's so good for your skin. So I added that to it. And then sometimes I put castor oil, like just a smidge bit of castor oil in there, or apricot oil. It's really good for your skin as well. And I put that in a little roller. And so like equal parts, you'll see the rollers are mostly clear and you just kind of fill it half and half. And then, I just roll that all over like my troubled areas that I need to. It works amazing.
Mine would be like right here.
Yes, that's where I always do it. And I'm like up here, down there. Sometimes I do it all over my neck.
Yes, exactly. Someone asked if you have any natural remedies for depression.
Off the top of my head, I would say St. John's wort is probably the most effective, but it also might not work for certain people. Some people have adverse reactions to it. And it also makes you, I forget the technical term, but it makes you sensitive to the sun. So that's weird. I have a friend who struggles with depression pretty well, and she was on a heavy tincture of St. John's wort and things like that, and it was working well for her. But she would actually turn really red if she would go out in the sun too much. So
that's kind of weird.
Yeah, we found that one out the hard way.
So she had side effects from that.
Yep, she did. She's sensitive to a lot of things. So, but it did work well for her. That would be off the top of my head.
And they said in a tea or a capsule, or does it not matter? Now you said she was doing a tincture.
She made a tincture out of it. You could do, if you were going to do a tea, I would make I would look up a few other good herbs and like maybe try to make a little blend with it. And then maybe add a capsule on top of it, you know? So I would try that. And yeah, so depression's a hard subject because everybody is different, but St. John's wort would be my first go-to. That's what I would first try, see how you react to it.
I remember when it first came out that it helped that. It was like a revolution. It like blew up.
You know, their minds would be blown if they just looked a little bit more. Like I said, that garlic and the MRSA, like I'm just like, come on, guys, like just start rubbing it smells bad in there anyways.
Well, I'm a firm believer in tea tree oil too, and tea tree oil and oregano oil. Taking oregano oil internally, if you have something, it works. They've done studies where it's actually the oregano oil will kill MRSA too. And it works as well on a lot of the different bacterial things or more than antibiotics.
So. And vinegar. I mean, most people probably know. I mean, you've had people on here with cleaning products that mostly just use vinegar. That's what I really use all over my house is vinegar.
I use vinegar quite a bit too when I'm getting into it. When I'm trying to be more natural, I use a lot of vinegar. My husband will come in and be like, "My house smells like vinegar." Like, I was cleaning. It's actually the best in the bathrooms. I use vinegar mixed with water, mixed with Dawn soap.
Okay, that would work. And
I spray it everywhere.
I have horrible hard water, so I will bust down with some CLR sometimes in the toilet. And you know, you gotta break it somewhere. And then someone said, Jessica said she has a ton of plantains. Plantain. I didn't even know. I thought that was like a tropical thing. No, you actually have tons of it out in the church thing. I was looking at it. Yeah, you have like a whole patch of it.
You need to go show me.
I will.
I have no idea what you're talking about. When I think of plantains, I think of
the banana.
Yes. That's what I think of. I don't think of a plant.
I know.
Everywhere. So
even when you Google it, that's the first thing that comes up is the banana.
Yeah, that's what I think of. Peace Seeker said she uses oregano oil and colloidal silver for diverticulitis. Got it. Diverticulitis, and it works really well. And then she said, or I don't know, it's a shame assuming, that Cosman's asked, do you recommend essential oils from any companies or CBD?
I don't really have a particular company that I would go with. I mean, it's more so, you know, if you have a trusted source. I know they have, you know, they're pretty big on like make sure it's in a brown glass bottle and like stuff like that. You know, you don't want to just be getting some cheap stuff somewhere. So I'm trying to think because what I get on Amazon. I don't know. I like this one. I can't think of the name of it. I'm sorry, guys.
The essential oil that my health food store has, and then I'll also order off of Amazon is Now, N-O-W.
Okay. Yep.
So I do that sometimes. I do that.
I have used that one a lot.
Oil. Is there an Eden's Garden? I don't know if that's any good, but there's an Eden's Garden off Amazon I've gotten before.
Okay.
That seems to be a little bit cheaper. The ones I have seen a difference though because Walmart is selling essential oils now.
I know, I saw that,
and I'm skeptical. Them. Yeah, I am too because I've gotten them and they're total like they smell like it's mainly water or carrier oil or something. It's so diluted.
Yeah,
it smells super diluted.
Yeah.
So
if you think you're getting an amazing deal, it's probably not the best quality. I mean, and you know, sometimes if it's just like if I'm just diffusing it or something for a smell or something like that, I'll get some cheap stuff and you know save my good stuff for my salves or my lotions or stuff that's going to be put like on my body. I know you're still breathing it in and everything, guys. I do understand that, but
yeah, Jen said that she uses Eden's Garden, so I can't really remember that. Shara asked, CBD. That's like the marijuana oil, isn't it?
Yeah,
CBD,
hemp.
so,
yeah, it's different than marijuana. It actually doesn't have any THC in it, so you don't. It's not actually a drug. It's just made from the hemp part of the plant. It's like the male part of the plant.
I've heard really good things about that oil helping a lot of different things.
I personally, I would use it if I had something that I would need to. That's another thing with depression because the CBD actually balances your endocrine system. And so that has a lot to do with your thyroid, your hormones, all that. So that's something I would, you know, do some research in if you're comfortable with that. Some people aren't. It's a personal thing. I know you don't get high. It's not marijuana. There's no THC. It's not, you know, addictive or anything. It's just another plant. It's kind of got a bad rap.
Yeah, my whole thing on that is I know a lot of Christians are against it. However, they are against that, but they are not against taking a prescription from a doctor that will alter their mind. And there are some prescriptions from doctors that will alter your mind. Like, is it what's the
Xanax? Will
Xanax.
Definitely do it. Yep.
Yes. Even some of the pain relievers that people are on.
Well, and antidepressants will alter your mind.
Yeah.
Almost every single one of them will change your mood, will change. I know from personal experience and from watching those that I love be on antidepressants. So
yeah, I'm firmly against taking anything natural or medical that will cause mind altering things to happen.
Yes.
So I'm against.
Yeah, I think the biggest line there is, God calls us to be sober.
Yes, exactly.
And if you're sober or if you're not sober.
Yeah.
And I know CBD, nobody gets high off CBD.
Right.
So, unless they're not making it right. Unless you got a weird batch from some, hippie or something.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Funny story. That reminds me of yesterday. So we were soul winning yesterday, and we have this guy that was soul winning. He's like a 22-year-old single guy, and he was soul winning with my sons. And they knocked on the door. This older gentleman. He was nice, but he was kind of weird. He was a little weird. And as they were leaving, they were walking down, and the guy comes running out after them. And he's like, wait. And he had these cupcakes that he wanted them to eat. And so he had these cupcakes, and my boys were like, okay, thanks. So they all took a cupcake. My boys were like, I'm not eating that. My second son, Jason, was, and Tommy's like, my oldest, he's like, Jason, don't eat that. And so Jacob's like, I'll eat it. So Jacob ate the cupcakes. And he came back and he was telling us, my boys were like, Mom, Jacob ate the cupcakes. And I'm like, Jacob, what is wrong with you? Why'd you eat the cupcakes? Don't eat the cupcakes. We were watching him the rest of the day. And he was like, well, if it would have been brownies, that would have been different. He's like, it was cupcakes, so they looked good.
Yeah, you can put it in anything.
Yes. So he ate the cupcakes. So as far as I know, he's still doing okay. But we were watching him the rest of the night. So I told my boys, I'm like, you're lucky you didn't eat those cupcakes. I would have yelled at you. You don't eat cupcakes from a weird old man that runs up down the street to give you cupcakes.
Yeah.
So
what is with old people and giving you food?
I don't know.
I don't understand that. You had your Cheeto story the other day too.
Yes, she was an old lady. I don't know.
Yeah, old people love giving out food.
They do.
It's really weird.
I don't know if that's their love language or what.
Yeah.
I had a younger guy I ran into yesterday. He tried to give us bottles of water. I would take
sealed. Yeah.
I would take a bottle of water, but not cupcakes that are just. This old guy has these cupcakes to just give it you. So. Yeah. But anyone have any more questions? We're going to wrap it up here pretty quick. It's been right at an hour. So, see, that was.
No. Hopefully we did good for winging it.
Yes, we totally winged it. But I think we covered the most parts. I wanted to cover your testimony. I wanted to cover, telling the difference between crossing the line into, the witchcraft stuff, where I'm a firm believer in herbs just because I've seen the effect that it's had, the good effect in my mom's life, my life, trying different things. So like I said, I'm a firm believer in using the natural first. If it doesn't work and you need to seek medical attention, then by all means do that. Don't be one of these people that you're so stubborn. I'm going to do these herbs. I'm going to, doctors are evil. They're evil. I do believe that the whole medical industry is corrupt, obviously.
Yeah, big time.
But they do serve their purpose. And in my own life, I've had some doctors that they've been good doctors, and they've found things that I did not even know were there, different problems and stuff that my kids have had. So they do serve their purpose. So, this is a good one. Jen asked if you have any books that you recommend.
Can I send a link to them? Because off the top of my head, I don't. I have one that I really like.
We were talking about books before, so
I know I have one that I really like. I know it has apothecary in the name, but I really like that one. It really focuses and it dives into like the different body systems, so like your cardiovascular system, things like that, your nervous system, and like what kind of herbs work well with that.
Okay, so she is going to send me those links later. And I will link to it. I'm assuming you can get them off Amazon.
Yeah, I'll find them on Amazon. Send you the link to the
Okay.
books that
I'm going to do a whole blog post, and I'm going to have all these that she talked about. See, here's these little cheat sheets I'm going to steal from her.
Yeah,
She's
just tell me if they're
so.
really, yeah. I just wrote them down quick.
So I'm going to take these and put them in my home for when I need them. And I will make up a whole blog post about that. And then I'll get those links to those books as well. So you said you did have 2 that you normally use. I have an essential oils book that I use for some things. Yeah, I'm definitely going to work on that salve though. I need to order some beeswax
Well, once you infuse the oil, I mean, it's really so simple. You just let it sit in there and the oil does all the work. Just like making a tincture, except you just do the oil. So
Help Me asked, when do you apply the facial oil?
I normally do it after the shower.
Yeah.
Or after I wash my face sometimes, at night before bed, I'll throw it on like something like that. But when your pores are all nice and open and stuff, is normally when I do that.
Oh, and this is a good question too. What would be a good starting herbal garden? What
Culinary.
are the essential herbs?
Culinary. What's really funny is I'm doing a herbal study course now to just sort of, tighten up loose ends of my knowledge here. And so they're talking about herbs that really smell, really strong are actually some of the most potent medicinal herbs because of all those, properties and things that it have. And so our culinary herbs are amazing for medicinal purposes. I mean, thyme is like,
I was going to tell you to list them.
Yeah, thyme is like a super good antiviral, cough. So thyme, sage, rosemary, basil. Basil is like my favorite right now. I throw it in all my tea. So I'll be making a cup of tea and I'll just grab a handful of basil and throw it in. Mint. Yeah, I would really start there. And you can find them in almost all grocery stores now. Like the produce section has those herbs already growing, most of the time organic.
That is true.
They're hard to grow indoors sometimes. Some people have better luck with it. They really grow outside well for me. In the winter, they struggle. I have a south-facing window, and they're looking pretty sad even right now. So, I mean, it's hard to grow indoors. So a lot of times in the winter, I just buy dried.
Okay. And someone asked if there's something for skins such as acne. That would be good if you have teenagers with acne, which I do.
Yes, I have a really good essential oil mask that you apply. So like a lot of, girls like to wear makeup or foundation, especially if they have acne, and you would apply this underneath it and it actually creates a little barrier. And
send that to me because Abby was just telling me today. She's like, Mom, I need something for my face. It's breaking out. So she could wear that under her.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's like geranium, aloe vera. Like you put it in an aloe vera base. So you rub that in and then it creates like this little barrier underneath and it helps. Yeah, it worked really well. I was breaking out at some point in time and tried it. So I'll send that to you too.
Yes.
That's in one of my essential oil books. So
Shara, I always need that too when I'm pregnant. My hormones go crazy and I break out mainly on my shoulders and my top area of my back.
At least you can hide it easy.
Yes, I'm able to hide it easy. My face does somewhat on my chin when I'm pregnant, but that would be good.
Yeah, I look good in this lighting. You can't see. I'm actually breaking out right now. So.
No, I can't tell. I can't tell. So, all right. So and then the Cosmos also asked, do you have anything that would help a gut reset?
Your biggest thing for your gut's going to be your probiotics. I mean, I know herbs like marshmallow root, slippery elm, things like that are going to be really soothing for the gut. Aloe vera, those are just... That's
another thing we did not go over. Do any of these herbs, can you not take them when you're pregnant?
That's good.
Because I know like pennyroyal tea, that will help actually cause miscarriages.
Yeah.
Don't ever take pennyroyal. I know that one.
Okay. So yeah, like ingesting, I would, if you're pregnant, I have to do a little bit more research.
Yeah,
if you are pregnant,
how is yarrow?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If you're pregnant, double check what I'm saying. Because
I think elderberry's okay. Mint's okay.
Yep. Yarrow would make me question off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Elderberry's okay. I mean, everything for the babies is going to be fine if you're pregnant.
Chamomile's fine.
Yep.
Fennel, ginger, that's all
St.
fine.
John's, I don't think I would do that while you're pregnant. That's a hormone. It messes with your hormones. I wouldn't do that while you're pregnant.
You have to be careful with oregano oil as well because that is a hot herb. and that can actually bring on menstrual. I cannot talk today.
Menstruation.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And
So
that's
you
a
have to
whole
be
nother
careful.
aspect I've really been
Yeah.
diving into lately is the hot cold aspect of herbs and the way, because, you know, certain herbs are going to affect people differently. You get to know their personality types, and it actually helps you line up herbs better. It's weird, but it does work. I mean, there's a lot to
Amanda
that.
said the same herb right when I was saying it. But yeah, there is, someone asked if you know of anything to help with fertility.
That's a hard thing too, because fertility, a lot of things that you would do.
Maca root, is that what it's called?
Maca?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that helps with fertility. And what's the berry? It's in the conception pills that I take. It's some kind
I
of berry.
wanted to look at that because I had someone that I was talking to.
That's one of the biggest things. What is it?
It's not hawthorn.
No.
Hawthorn's very hard.
Vitex, that's it. Yep, Julia got it. Ding, ding, ding.
Okay.
Vitex, that's an herb.
Yeah, because a
That's
lot
one
of
of the
stuff
best
for your
ones.
reproductive too is really good before you're pregnant. So it's almost like you might want to do like a little thing for before when you're getting ready to get pregnant, and then have something ready for if you do actually conceive. And then, but most of those two don't mix well. Like stuff that you would take, because like motherwort is like so good for really getting everything, you know, good down there.
Well, someone asked, they had their first period after delivery, any natural recommendation to ease brutal cramps?
Cramp bark.
Cramp bark. It's not funny, it's in the name.
I know a lot of times it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cramp bark. I would look, off the top of my head, I mean, white willow bark is a really good pain reliever. It does mess with your blood thinning abilities. So I don't know where you're at with that. It's very similar along the lines of Tylenol. So, but also I know if you're sick, it's weird. I used to make it for my kids when they were sick, like thinking fever reducer. But I learned recently that there's something called Ray's syndrome. And
that does the same thing as aspirin? Is that the aspirin thing on kids under 12?
Like it could be. I just learned about this.
And that's with the herbs too. Oh.
Well, with the white willow bark. It's actually so potent that you know, there's a few herbs that are really potent. Like hawthorn too is really potent. If you have heart conditions, which most people, you know, don't our age.
So that's another disclaimer. Do your research before you do any of this.
This is a winged episode.
Yes.
I did not.
Do your research. Don't just be like, oh, I'm going to make all of the herbs and then just go start crazy taking them when you might have other health conditions.
Please, disclaimer.
Yes. Do your own research on this. We're just throwing some ideas out there. So
yeah, because there are things like sage you don't want to do when you're pregnant. I know for sure. And so some of those really potent ones, you really want to watch.
Always look into it. In the book that I have about I have a great big book, The Natural Prescription for Natural Healing. Have you ever seen that?
I think big is one. It the green one? Where it's green around? I like that one. I just got that one.
That's a good book. That is. Let me throw that out. That Prescription for Natural Healing.
Yes, that one's really good. It's huge,
and it has all of the herbs in the back, and it tells you not to take, like when not to take them. So don't take them if you're pregnant. Don't take them if you're breastfeeding.
So many herbs you really do got to be cautious with when you're pregnant, especially in the first trimester. You know, I mean, it can really mess with that. Yeah, like Peace Seeker said, there's a lot of things that stimulate the immune system that is a no-go for people that have lupus. You know, if you have an immune disorder, then you have to really be careful. RA and things like that. So yeah, if you have any like kind of really severe disorder, I would really do your research before you start doing natural stuff, because you're probably not only that, but you're probably on something already. You know, most people would already probably be taking something, and there can be some serious contradictions. You know, it can make something ineffective, or it can make something, you know, exceedingly, like it can just blow something. Like hawthorn can do that for heart medications. Well, I noticed too, like I think it's the St. John wort. I do think I think that's for like birth control pills, which probably doesn't go with this crowd. But I have read before when I'm reading disclaimers about St. John's wort, if you're taking it, it might be even antibiotics too. It will decrease the effectiveness of, I think, birth control pills and antibiotics, which obviously I'm not on birth control pills, and I doubt any of you are, but that's just something showing that it does decrease the effectiveness of different
medical things.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Someone asked miracle weight loss tea. If you find a miracle weight loss tea, let me know.
Oolong.
Oolong? All right, I'm drinking oolong every day now.
I found it through Trim Healthy Mama, actually.
Oolong. Oh, yes.
Yep.
I've done some of those recipes.
Yep.
Actually.
Oolong. It actually burns they say every cup you drink burns 60 calories.
All right. We're going on an oolong tea binge.
Oolong tea and apple cider vinegar. Do you know what, though? I make a sugar-free since, like, I'm kind of on THM, kind of. Kind of, sort of. So you make an iced tea, just black tea, green tea, and then you do stevia. But then you throw out just like a little shot of apple cider vinegar in there. It's very good, and it gets that apple cider vinegar going in your system and helps burn that tummy fat.
But be careful with stevia once again, because in some people it lowers your blood pressure. Yeah. So I have a friend that cannot take it because it lowers her blood pressure, and she already has low blood pressure. So there's a disclaimer with all this, but
yes, definitely. Do your own research. We are not medical doctors.
No medical degree.
Yeah.
Which my doctors reminded me of before.
Yeah, right. Our Google degree is not a medical degree.
No, it's not. So do your own research. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. I can hear the kids. If you heard the kids at all, it's our kids in the background playing, having fun. So
my poor hubby.
Yeah, they're probably, my husband's out there too, and they're probably like, come on, young ladies, wrap it up. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, but I hope this was informative. I will do a special, probably a special blog post and a Facebook post and just get it out there, and I'll leave a link to it in the YouTube description as well. So I hope that was informative. I hope you got to enjoy meeting Nicole. So we will see you next week at the regular time, 7. This just worked out good for having her on today. So we did have viewers the whole time, not as much as normal, probably because it was such short notice, but everyone will watch this video after the fact. So
I know, and I love this show.
Yes,
I was super stoked.
Yeah, she was kind of put on the spot yesterday when I'm like, hey, come on the show. So anyways, all right, guys, we'll see you next week.